So let's imagine you found the perfect house. It's brand new construction, out in Leander, great floor plan, and the price is exactly where you wanted it. You plug the numbers into your favorite mortgage calculator, and the monthly payment looks totally doable. Then you sit down with your agent. They pull the actual tax rate for that specific address, and your payment jumps maybe $300 or $400 a month. Nothing about the house changed, so what happened? A few letters that almost nobody explains to you before you're emotionally attached to the home. MUD, PUD, PUD, WCID. Today I'm going to break down every one of those, what they mean, what they cost, and how they're different, and most importantly, how to spot them before they wreck your budget instead of after. Because out here in Leander, Liberty Hill area, this is the #1 thing that catches new construction buyers off guard. I'm Jeff Joseph, a realtor with ERA Experts in the Austin area. I work with buyers all over Northwest Austin, Leander, Georgetown, Liberty Hill, and I'll be honest with you, this is the conversation I end up having every single week, usually with someone who's already picked out a lot and is stunned when I show them how the real number actually looks. So let's fix that right now. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each of these districts are and what it does to your payment and the questions to ask before you ever write an offer. Let's start with the big one because it's by far the most common. MUD. That stands for Municipal Utility District. Special taxing district created under Texas law. And it exists for one main reason, to pay for the infrastructure in a new community. So when a developer moves in and builds a brand new subdivision out on that land used to be ranch land, somebody has to pay for the water lines, the sewer lines, the drainage, the grading, the roads. Instead of the developer paying all of that up front and baking it into the price of a house, they form a MUD. These districts issue bonds to cover the cost of construction. And then those bonds get paid back over time through property taxes charged to the people who buy the homes within that district. In other words, that's you. You're helping pay off the pipes and the roads and the grading that made the neighborhood possible. Now here's a detail that most people don't know. It actually cuts in your favor, because a MUD lets the developer sell that infrastructure debt as public tax-exempt bonds at lower interest rates. Home prices in a MUD are often around 15% lower than they would otherwise be. So the trade-off is real. You're getting a lower purchase price in exchange for a bit of a higher tax rate. The important thing is that you know the deal you're making. And one more thing about MUDs. The rate isn't fixed forever. As those bonds get paid down over the years, MUD tax rates often come down with them. Let me make the cost real, because this is where people get wide-eyed. Across the Austin area, MUD rates generally run anywhere from around 25 cents to $1.50 per $100 of your home's assessed value. So what's that mean? On a $450,000 home in a district with a $1 rate, the MUD portion alone adds about $4,500 a year to your tax bill. That's $375 a month, every month on top of everything else. And when you stack that MUD on top of your county taxes, school taxes, and your city taxes, buyers in some of these districts end up with an effective property tax rate somewhere between 2.7 and sometimes even 3.2% a year. Almost none of that showed up on the generic online estimate when you fell in love with the house. Now here's where it gets interesting, because MUD is not the only set of letters that you might see. The next one is PUD. That's a Public Improvement District. And a PUD is different from a MUD in a few really important ways. A MUD is its own little government that mainly funds water and sewer. A PUD, on the other hand, is created by the city or the county, and it funds a broader mix of things. So it can be landscaping, parks, sidewalks, trails, sometimes even public safety. But the biggest difference is how it shows up on your tax bill in the end. A PUD is not a changing tax rate, it's a fixed assessment, a set line item, and it's tied to the property through bonds paid back over 20 to 40 years. And here's the part that matters most for you. Some PUDs can actually be paid off in full up front in a lump sum if you don't want to carry that cost out over the life of your mortgage. In a MUD, you can't just write a check and be done with it. In a PUD, in a lot of cases you can. There's also a legal wrinkle on PUDs worth knowing. Texas law requires a seller to disclose a PUD, and if they fail to give you that notice, you as a buyer have a statutory right to terminate the contract. So a missed PUD disclosure isn't just a surprise, it's a deal you can walk away from. That's how serious the state takes it. Now the third one PUD or PUD, and I want to be careful here because this one trips up even experienced buyers. In most of Texas, where you see PUD, it means planned unit development, and that's not a tax at all. It's a zoning and land use designation. It just means community that was planned with a mix of housing, open space, and shared amenities, often with an HOA attached. So if you're moving from another state, this is where it's really important. In some other states, PUD stands for Public Utility District, which is a taxing district that works a whole lot like a MUD does here in Texas. But in Texas, 9 times out of 10, PUD is about zoning and it's not about a tax bill. Don't let the letters scare you until you know which ones you're actually dealing with. The fourth one, WCID, Water Control and Improvement District. This one is like a close cousin of the MUD. Both are water districts overseen by the state. Both are run by an elected board, and both can levy taxes and issue bonds to build water, sewer, and drainage. The difference is mostly in the fine print of what they're allowed to build. A MUD can finance new roads, WCID generally cannot. A WCID can buy existing water facilities, and a MUD can only build new ones. For you as a buyer, the practical effect on your tax bill is very similar to a MUD. It's an extra layer of property tax funding your community's water infrastructure. And just like a MUD, the seller is required to give you notice that you're buying inside one. So let's pull all that together because I know it's a lot of letters. A MUD is a water district with a tax rate that can change over time, and it usually comes with a lower purchase price of the home in exchange for that tax. A PID is a fixed assessment from a city or county that funds amenities and can sometimes be paid off up front. A PUD here in Texas is usually just a zoning label and not a tax. And a WCID is basically a MUD's cousin, another water district adding to your tax bill. The thing they all have in common, they change what you actually pay every month, and they never show up in online estimates. So here's my ask before you write an offer on any new construction home. Ask one simple question: what's the total combined tax rate for this address? And that's super important that you word it like that. Make sure that it includes any MUDs, any PIDs, any water control improvement districts, and that'll get you the real number and not an estimate. And if you want, I'll get it for you. You're looking at new construction in Leander, Liberty Hill, or anywhere in the Northwest Austin area, and you want to know the true monthly cost before you commit, reach out. I'll pull the actual district and rate for any address you're considering and walk you through exactly what it means for your budget. No pressure, just clarity. I'm Jeff Joseph in the Austin area. I'll see you on the next one.